All right, I'm doing that from my phone, so I think it's getting ready to go. All right, we're live. Adam, say what's up.
What's going on in the world today?
All right, so we're live in Top Age Experts. Meet Adam, getting ready to drop a podcast. I got Colin McCluskey over here. I'm going to drop some knowledge, so want to share with our network first.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, Adam. Colin, we ready to go, buddy? Audio good?
Yep. Cameras are rolling, sound's moving, and Zoom's going for him. We are set.
All right, guys, welcome to All or Nothing in Real Estate, episode 5 with a $1 billion team lead agent, Adam Bailey. Adam Bailey has been a part of closing over 6,000 homes in his career, high performance real estate team and business coach, a marketing strategist, and an investor. Adam Bailey companies have been recognized by RealTrends and the WallStreet Journal as the #1 real estate team in Kansas and the #9 real estate team in the nation. Adam was also honored by Inc. magazine as one of the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies and the Business Journal's best places to work, with many other achievements. His brand has been on numerous radio stations, TV, podcasts, and is recognized as one of the leaders in the real estate industry. Adam Bailey currently has a modern team network of about 2,200 agents in 5 different countries. And in the last 12 months, he has been paid on about 8,000 closings by leveraging a cloud office and modern tools. Welcome, Adam.
Boom. What's up, man? That's a lot. I love it.
Yeah, that's a lot of accolades. You deserve it. So hopefully we got some knowledge we can share with the people today and just give back. I know you and I, our values aligned, and that's the movement behind this. That's the vision, is to give back. So let's start, Adam, if you don't mind, unpack just a little bit of your story, kind of where you come from and a little bit of your accolades we just went over.
Right. I started an insurance company with Aflac, I think when I was like 22 or 23. Struggled my first year, dropped out of college, to get that off the ground. I think I made $11,000 my first year. Just kind of stuck with it. I was real pig-headed. I was like, I'm going to figure this out. Built that up over 5 years. We all know what happened in 08, 09, market crashed. I was covering Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, selling direct or payroll deducted policies. And we knew, employers were laying off and not rehiring. So I was making less money, traveling more. I was just like, I don't want to be doing this in 5 years. Similar to how EXP stock is structured, Aflac had that same equity program. So I was being awarded shares of stock for writing policies and, in many different forms by just doing my job. So I was vested with them. I cashed out all my stock. I took a year off. Was really looking for opportunities, just, didn't really want to go get a job. I think I was like 27 at that time. I had this guy by the name of Mike Gerbic that kept calling me. He was on the radio at the time. And I went and talked to him a few times, just couldn't get my head wrapped around the team model. And, I was still full of ego. So I was like, if I'm going to get my real estate license, why wouldn't I just do it on my own, keep more of my own commission? And just, how everyone, full of ego starts out in real estate. Right. Yeah. But I had call center experience because I worked at MCI that sold local and long distances to businesses and residential in high school. Right. And that's kind of how I built my insurance business. And so I said, I'll come in, I'll shadow you for like 6 months. I was working on Mellors. I was kind of poking around his business. He really wasn't paying me anything at that time. I think we were calling expired and FSBOs, and I was doing some data mining. And so I started making about $300 a week with him or whatever to get going. And then, he came in, shut the door and was like, what's it going to take for you to go get your license and to commit to this? And so I said, all right, I'll give this a shot. He took me down to my first event or mastermind about six months later, just got my license. IDX feeds were just coming out. He was big with listing leads and on the radio. And I was like, we can kill it with internet leads. So we started generating thousands of internet leads back in, 2010. Started hiring our first inside sales agent and started to scale up a client care resource center in 2011. And also I started selling houses, only closed like 24 houses my first year. It was a huge lesson because I was like, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to sell a bunch of houses and it's going to be great. My second year, the call center continuously grew. I ended up within a couple of years becoming a top performing agent, also on the team. And I think in 2012 to 2013, we really dialed in the call center after a couple of years trying to figure it out. We lost almost 100 grand. We almost shut that thing down. And that's when we figured out cash conversion cycles and nurturing, because all the information out there today from people's past experiences just wasn't available. So we really was a pioneer with spearheading that. And it just really took off. We went from like 350, 388 closings that previous year to around 688. And I told Gerbic we were going to close 700 homes that year. And he told the group, he told me to tell the group around 500, so we only missed our goal by 12 units. At that time, I was going to really branch out and do my own thing. However, I spent a little bit of time with Gerbic. I didn't feel like I was done learning under his leadership. So we came together and got a mutual agreement done with some ownership. And then he had turned the brokerage over for me to run the operation and Select Homes. At that time, I had a lot of people that was hearing me speak or doing podcasts or trying to figure out who this kid was. I went on the internet, so we're going to close 1,000 houses next year. Little did I know, similar to what you went through, Matt, is it just wasn't about sales and conversion. We had to actually build the full car to be able to keep up with the speed. And so everybody started following me. And then I launched a coaching company off experiential learning where people could shadow our call center ISAs, making live and direct calls, listen to how we're using quad scripting with many pre-approval apps, qualifying our listing appointments, set pre-qualified buyer appointments for our agents. At that time, it did really well. Started open expansion offices and all that fun stuff. Until about 2007, we were ranked 9th to 12th in the nation, kind of bouncing around those spots for 5 years. And I felt like we needed some additional tools and technology and solutions to continuously scale from the coaching company, had more people wanting to get in business with us than we could execute financially on and labor wise. And so I was looking for solutions, and, I looked at EXP, but the way it was articulated to me, I just couldn't get my mind around it. And I was like, there's no way in hell I would ever be with this company. Right. We were independents and highly profitable. And I'd already worked my way out of the field at that time.
That goes back to the ego you talked about, man, earlier. Is that same for me? Is my stories. I turned down EXP at the beginning too, and I think both of us had similar reactions to it. It was the wrong message being delivered, but at the same time, both of our egos were still in the way.
Yeah, what I find out is it's the wrong message at the wrong time from the wrong person. And so I said no for about 1.5 years. I continued to have the same issues. I think at that time, my son was 2 years old. Granted, I got all the awards sent over here. We were #1 in Kansas for 10 years. We're, inside, outside the WallStreet Journal's top 10 real estate rankings. And so I was like, okay, we can sell more houses or we can get smarter at this. Right. And then there's a gentleman by the name of Jeff Willems that sells about 700 houses a year out of Tucson, Arizona. He kind of watched me grow up in this industry. Him and Mike, were friends or done some coaching exchange right before I got into real estate. And Gerbic told me to connect with him and follow him. And so I just reached out to him one day, man. And I said, hey, why did you make the move over? I was kind of spot checking everyone at that time. I was looking for a solution, right? Wasn't looking for KV Core. I wasn't looking for rev share. I wasn't looking for any of the stuff that most people talk about. And so Jeff was able to allow me to monitor his business solution tools inside of Enterprise. And after like a couple months, I was like, holy crap, this is exactly what I've been looking for, but nobody's been able to explain it, articulate it, or they're not using it because we all joined for multiple different reasons. Right.
Yep.
And then that's when, I went back to a few of my partners and, I pulled the trigger. Some of them didn't see the vision, at the time. So I had to do what was right for my family. And I bought myself out of my equity piece. We were 11th in the nation at that time. Bought out my non-compete, non-solicit, non-disclosure, all that fun stuff. Couldn't work in town for a year, but I could work nationally. And so then I watched with
a lot of people think about all the successes, man. Your accolades speak for themselves, but a lot of people don't realize the sacrifices it takes to get there.
Right.
So when I know the story here, but tell the people, what did you have to give up? Not only did you have to buy yourself out, but what did that look like?
Right. Well, the guy that got me in real estate, my mentor had, sold his equity piece. An investor was holding it. We were trying to negotiate that, and it was it was in the right under $4 million, and that's not including my equity piece and a few other people. But what people didn't know is we were flipping that to EXP. We were going to EXP, so it really held me back for a year to get to EXP. But in my mind, I thought, I would have bought something that I helped build up from 5 to 7 people. Oh, and it took us 8 years or so to build that thing to 90 people, 4 or 5 offices powered by our call center. But it just sucked a lot of my time. And, I've needed, some tools and tech, and I seen it and I believed in it. And I know we hear this a lot, but I really, at that time, EXP only had around 3,000 or 4,000 people when I made the decision. And I really felt like Netflix was coming, and we were still a blockbuster, even though we were sitting top of the rankings, had the awards. We were, closing over 140 houses a month or whatever. And so, when my partners didn't see it, sure, I could have stuck where I was at and been happy. But I wasn't happy, and I didn't know I was unhappy. If you go back and look at a lot of my old Facebook pictures, I was overweight. I was, drinking a lot. It was causing relationship issues with the amount of hours I was putting in and not being present at home with the newborn. And so, it was a lot to risk, but the reward paid off. So, using my equity in exchange for freedom nationally. And then I was the face, had the relationships, and the guy in front of the room, the judge ruled that, that I had to set out a year. So it cost me around $385,000. It cost me a decade of relationships. And the sad part is I told everybody that I wasn't selling, and, we were flipping this equity to us. And then, I knew what was coming, which was EXP, but they didn't. And so that's what I, feel bad about, was having, then I couldn't talk to people in town for a year because I had the non-disclosure. And so that was, the people side of the business hurt more than the actual logistics and, the transactions and the network and the modern team that was coming. When I started with EXP, I took 3 or 4 months off. Came up, with a strategy, a game plan, went to a mastermind down in Puerto Vallarta. And, I had people telling me I was crazy. I was having a midlife crisis, and I didn't know what I was doing. And, I launched down there. My 5-year goal was to have a modern team of 500 agents. And then I would kind of, enjoy the time with my son and, start to slow down a little bit. And little did I know I had 90 agents in 90 days. It took us 8 years to do that previously, traditionally banking. At the end of year 1, I had around 500 agents, year 2, around 1,000 agents. And then, so on and so forth. Just hit my, 3-year, 3.5 year mark, going on 4 years, and around 2,200 agents, growing by 6 to 7% profitability and agent count right now every single month. And so now the people that called me crazy are asking me how I did it. The people that told me I had a midlife crisis that came to a mastermind, I've never asked them to partner with me or try to close them or recruit them. They moved their number 1 KW team over from the number 1 KW office market center in the world. And so I'm blessed, like, people took a risk with me, just like you did. You walked away from 100 signs and yards, already closing 200 homes with Century 21. You had a team. And so for you to, believe in that vision with me early on, I'll be forever indebted to you. You moved your whole team into the basement, and I'll never forget when you called me that day and you're like, all right, I can't get my listings. We can't get around this. The good news is the team is going to all stay with me. We're all crammed in my house in the basement. So I hope you know what you're doing, Adam. And hopefully it's worked out for you.
Yeah, 100%, man. So yeah, it's there's a bunch I want to dissect there. So it's a crazy story. So I wrote down some notes here. I want to dissect a few of those parts, but let's talk about the my partnership with you. Like you said, this isn't a podcast about EXP. This is to give back to the real estate industry, but it's important to note that EXP solved a problem for you and it solved a problem for me. And so I want to dissect that a little bit. And so whenever we partnered together, I turned down EXP because it was the wrong person at the wrong time delivering the wrong message. Right. Just like you said. And so I reached out to you because I followed you. You had built that brand awareness of you had built something I was trying to create, right?
Yeah.
And so you already had that you had that brain space that you had already earned by just giving back. And so I reached out to you, and the conversation, you never once mentioned rev share. You never once mentioned stock. You never once mentioned any of these buzzwords that people are just puking on people. What you said is what this model does. You're missing the boat. What this model does, it creates a true partnership. And so I can actually partner with you now. Before it would have cost $50,000 or whatever it was to get an expansion office. Now it costs you $99 sign up fee. Sign up with this company, and now we're in partnership. And just having that partnership of, man, just to be honest, going from those 200 closings to absolute zero, and now here we are 4 years later, we're going to close over 1,000 homes in a year. Without your partnership, that's not possible.
That's the main thing right there. Okay, so when you had reached out to me, you said, I want the blueprint of how you guys were selling 1,000 houses a year, right?
Yep.
To be able to fast track with somebody that's been there, done that before, it's cheat codes. It really is. Like when I said when we were at 688 homes and I made the announcement on the internet, we're going to sell 1,000 houses a year. This was back when no one was doing these type of numbers, right? Now, like we're seeing this more frequently. Like nobody was doing this type of stuff. We went from 688, to 853 to 953. It took me 3 years to bust 1,000 because we had to build out the buyer side, not, the listing side, but more importantly, the operation side with the staff. And you could have all the systems in the world. You can spend all the money on marketing you want, but if you don't have the people and the actual talent to convert those leads, then you don't have the back end support that's developed to run your systems consistently with good culture and chemistry. You can't scale. And so it is really all about the people, right? And so I had to figure that out the hard way. I watched you figure it out the hard way, and I said, it's going to be okay. Like we've all been through this. And so you didn't come here for rev share. You didn't come here for stock. You came here to sell more houses, right? And we did that together. And then all this other value has been a byproduct. I know the stock has done you really well. And we all grow into wanting to contribute more and build more, but you have to be able to take care of yourself and your business before you can go help other people, really. And that's why I'm proud of you. You took care of your home turf. You've proven the traditional concept, and you're going to take that and scale it in a modern way. So I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I truly appreciate that, but I want you to know that none of it was possible without you and your partnership and the value you bring. So let's talk about a little bit of that value. Let's break down when you were running the number 9 team in the nation. What were some of the pain points that you kept running into?
Yeah. Well, the first pain point that I had ran into was the leader can't be managing all of the people. And, Gerbic had really turned everything over to me, and he's like, I'm going to let you make decisions. I will give you some feedback. I'll stand behind your decisions. And I made a lot of bad decisions. And so I had to learn. And, when you got your hands on everything, and I had to even, get you to this point, I always thought no one could do it better than me. I had a lack of trust because I was executing at a high level, and I was so focused on rankings, revenue, closings, and I was losing sight of developing other people. And so, it created some turnover if there's not opportunity, or there's just not, good personal development. And it's, still at that time, ego driven. And I remember I lost about 300 units in 1 year that walked out the door. However, I still replaced it, and we grew by 25% that year, but it about killed me. And I remember Gerbic, at one point telling me, hey, if people keep telling you you have a tail on your butt, you might want to turn around and look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I had to do some, self-reflection with leadership and personal growth, because I was just a sales and marketing guy, and I had to understand psychology at a higher level, and start to actively practice psychology, and more leadership. And I'm still working on a lot of that stuff today. And when I look at another thing that was huge, a problem I ran into when I was still
Adam, actually, I'm going to jump in here real quick. I hate to cut you off, but that's such an important piece for new agents that are struggling with starting small companies. They've got maybe 3 agents or something like that. They're starting their own group. Can you talk a little bit more about the struggles that you ran into as start of communicating to a team, of building the team, and how you overcome those? So that they have an idea of how to build their own team.
Right. So when you're small, and that's kind of what I was getting at when Gerbic told me, hey, it's kind of, this big churches, the bigger the church gets, the smaller groups get, right? Or smaller his group gets. And so, to finish my thought, and then I'll circle back with you, I ended up, not having to have literally 40 people answer to me at the time I made this. I ended up creating teams within the team and developing team leads and coaches, and then also department heads as we built out transactions department, listings department, until we was able to afford an operation person, right? So that group had to get smaller. And so that fundamental value in terms of how you work with them smaller groups are exactly if you have 5. So with my smaller groups, they would only have 5 to 7 people. So if you only have 3 to 7 people, what I think you need to do is you got to be huddling daily with them in the mornings, role playing, jumping on Zoom with them, checking in. What's their daily activity report look like? Most agents don't understand time management, and they're just looking for a lead or one-off call leads. They don't have jam sessions. They're not structured good with time management. So helping them with that, meeting them each day, I think is important. And then starting to develop an alpha that is willing to communicate good with the group and help you teach and start taking some of the stuff off of your plate, I think is essential for duplication. You have to duplicate yourself once. Once you duplicate yourself, then it can go to 3. Once you go to 3, you can go to 6. Once you go to 6, you can go to 9, And so what I felt at early on when we were small was I always thought the best salesperson was going to be the next best sales leader or team lead. And just because you're a good salesperson doesn't make you a good teacher, doesn't make you a good leader, and it doesn't necessarily always command the respect of the group in terms of chemistry. And so I had to learn that the hard way, being small.
Yeah, and there's something that you taught me too, Adam, in huddles, is that in one-on-ones with your agents is you can't lead by just policy, like just hitting them over the head with policy, right? It's not, well, you didn't make your calls. It's how to start your huddles the right way is to actually ask them how they're doing. Hey, Adam, how's life? How's Adam doing today? Right? Because you have to create that business intimacy with your people. Otherwise, they don't feel the safety. And what one-on-ones can create if they're not done correctly is tension. And tension without safety turns to stress, and stress leads to overwhelm. And so you have got to make sure you lead your people properly and you care about them and build that business intimacy first. Otherwise, the numbers don't matter.
Let me tell you where I've been most impactful. I understand and drive key performance metrics. I'm a very logical, numbers predictable guy. Even when we had our call center, every 8 valid conversations, we set a qualified buyer appointment, pre-approved, or listing appointment. And then it was broke down and reversed off of that with leading indicators with our leading and lagging ones, right? Tied into that. And you could jump on and, just focus on the numbers. But here's what I will tell you, even with, my top performing agents and things like how's things going, some of my best coaching or the most impactful I've been has not been, the strategies or the tactics or the numbers. It's really, we're keeping them focused and helping them remove head trash and, dealing with personal issues, because we all have personal issues, whether it's in business, whether it's, family life, kids, whatever it may be. And so being able to understand psychology and work with them on that stuff and give them the tools to get out of that slump or overcome that or help reframe their thinking, that is going to put them in a great space where they can operate at a high level.
Yeah. Adam, were you saying a lot about understanding the psychology, but again, for small businesses and such, do you have any resources that you'd recommend? Because it sounds like you've done a lot of studying on this. Any books or where should people go to upgrade their
I got tons of books and, they're on my shelf. I got a whole library of Audible stuff. What specifically would you want, Like what are we trying to work on? Like whenever someone has a specific problem and we're working through it, I recommend a book. I'm really, a makeup of all of the books and audios I read, right? Because I take a little bit of things that have hit me or helped me, and they've just stayed with me, and then I can articulate it, or when I see it, talk about that principle or what they need to apply to net that type of result. So, what specifically are you wanting, a book for? And I can recommend it.
Got it. So you've at this point, you're bringing in so much information that you've internalized it at this point. Yeah.
So I think I can help here. So to Adam, I think what you're saying is there's not just one book. It's a combination of you feeding your brain and learning these things over the years, pouring back into yourself. And then when a problem comes up, now you can recommend either a principle or that book for them to read based on what they're actually going through at that time.
That's absolutely right. I have not taken a paycheck on a W-2 payroll since I was 21 years old. I have been self-employed since I was 22. I have been broke. I have been depressed. I have battled anxiety. I have made a lot of money. I've lost things before. I've lost relationships before. I've been through a divorce. I'm battle tested. You know what I mean? Like, this ain't something that someone told me. And so I have consumed and stayed a student up until this point, and I still download books, and I still pay for the audio subscription, and I still listen, and I still buy the book if I think it's interesting enough. So I have the written word to get the principle out or to build content around it. So without a doubt, if you're not willing to stay a student inside of this highly competitive industry, or staying a student in life on how you need to personally grow or how to better yourself and better all areas of your life, because as you fix your interpersonal growth, and you start growing as a person, you'll be amazed by how many more homes you'll start selling and how people will be attracted to you when you giving off positive vibrations and stepping into your greatness. People are attracted to that, you know.
1000%. There's and something I've learned through the years is that when I first started wanting to level up, I started on an internal, right? The external will never reflect anything bigger than what you have inside of you. And so the more that you can learn, I'm a lifelong learner. I learn something new every day. I've learned stuff on this podcast. I've got a whole page of notes already. And how many times have you and I have talked? But it's because I'm a lifelong learner, and I realize there's always something I can do better. And what I've realized through the years, going from my basement to number 15 team in the nation, is my team, my business has never outgrown my personal self. I have to invest in myself first so I can help other people.
It never will. You know, it's funny when I watch agents or even team leaders or people, I want this, or I want to do this, or I want to sell this amount of homes, or I want to net this amount of money. Everything that I had ever wanted, I had to go out and find that knowledge and information. And then I had to develop into that person that was worthy of by obtaining it. Because whatever you have obtained right now, the market share in Missouri, the 2,200 agents I have in 5 countries, if I am lacking, someone else is coming to get my space. And so you have to become that person to obtain it, to achieve it. And then you have to even grow past it. So I was just talking to an agent that I have a personal relationship with. And I told them, look, man, I would like to have 5,000 agents right now. I would like to be growing faster. And I know this is a big year for me where I have to do more to become more to earn that. And I have to learn more. And so I'm going to run more events. I'm right now on a version of the Hard 75, focus, not consuming alcohol or TV. I'm reading more, I'm applying more, I'm creating more content. I'm working on new marketing and making a push to achieve the things that I want, or to develop into that person that I need to become. And, we use a lot of Brent Gove's masterminds and things like that, but we have so much talent and top agent experts where it's time for us to take what we have learned and develop into that next level, right? For us to hit the goals that we're looking for. And so I'm having to create new behaviors, do different things, push myself out of my comfort zone to have a team of 4,000 or 5,000 agents globally. I have to study global stuff. I've learned so much about Canada. I've learned a lot about the UK, Australia, Mexico, and these are things that I'm having to continuously study if that's what I want, right? Or I can just sit here and, go through the motions in little Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, 100%. And I wrote something down here, dude. There's something you said that sparked in my brain that I think about this. And so fear is a great motivator, right? And so I still wake up every day scared to death. I wake up scared to death every single day that there's a old version of me that's out there chasing me, because I know what I thought when I worked my way up through the ranks, just like you did. Yeah. And I know for a fact, if I take my foot off the gas, there's somebody out there just like me that's young and hungry that's going to take it. Yeah. And I owe it to my people. I owe it to my family to make sure that I'm always leveling up so that never happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that it goes back to, we see that meme on Facebook, rent is due every month. I mean, I mean, it's so true. And I think if you were willing to be consistent enough with the right mentor and, the right masterminds. I mean, anything is possible in the time we're in. Real estate is highly competitive. We're in some super wild times. I've never seen anything like this. But for me and our business and you, I couldn't be more thrilled. You know what I mean? Like 140 agents, 140 some have joined the modern team in the last 30 days. We're scaling and ramping up, and we're developing more leaders. And what I love seeing is a lot of the traditional teams are number 1 and number 3 in their markets. So obviously what we're doing is working, and being able to use that traditional team as a nest to develop good people on the personal development side, show them how to run a good business, and then spit them out as a partner in the network and be in financial alignment with them. And to have this opportunity, first just keeping them on our systems, and then if they leave, we don't get anything in return for all that development we did with them. This is exciting what's going to happen over the next 10 or 15 years.
Yeah, I agree, man. This movement is just getting started, and so one of the biggest things is that you said it right there, is financial alignment. Financial alignment is huge in this model, and so it not only because we have great people that we're in business with, right? We don't partner with everybody. We partner with the right people that have the right values, that want the same things we want. But we are also invested in their business to help them succeed. And when they bring another partner in, you and I help them. Right. And it just keeps expanding, and everybody is willing to give away. There are no secrets in this industry, but everybody used to. The real estate business used to, oh, I'm not going to tell you all my secrets. You got to pay me for this course. Right. This model is turning on its head. We're giving all of our secrets away to everybody we partner with, because we realize that we can help them grow within this network.
Yeah. I mean, the resources are available. People lack resourcefulness and execution. And so that's what it is. If you're resourceful in our network or just in general in life, the resources are there. And then what I see that most people lack is execution. They'll tinker, they'll do some and not see, a massive return or result, and they don't follow through with it long enough to get it predictable, or like pumping oil. And that's the biggest weakness that I see. But whenever you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you start having a bigger why other than yourself, like you said, your obligation to your family, and like mine was to try to, obviously 8,000 closings. I do really well, highly profitable, but I don't do it for the money. I do it for the time freedom to be able to do what I want, whenever I want, with whomever I want, and still be able to keep my businesses running. And I will never, ever trade time for money ever again on any projects that I work on, because real estate has provided me a lot and given me a lot, but it's also stripped a lot away from me. And it will never do that again as I turned 40 and just hit my 11th year. And so it's an obligation and a commitment that I've made, to my son and to myself and the people I love and care about around me.
Yeah, man, that's said very well. And going back to what you said about people just dibbling and dabbling and they don't have the resourcefulness or the execution, I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's one of the reasons I called this movement that I'm creating with All or Nothing on this podcast is All or Nothing, because that mindset is 100% what's propelled me in my life. If I do something, I'm doing it all in. Yeah. Or I'm not doing it at all. Yeah. Because if you just dip your toe in the water versus jumping in the damn puddle, you're not going to get the results. And then people will just try something and then they'll half-ass it and then they get pissed off when they don't get the results. Well, it's because you didn't do the fucking work, right? Yeah. You didn't put in the time and the effort to get what you deserved out of it. You have to give it your all or don't do it.
Yeah. No, dude, that's exactly right. Every year I've had to run this modern team differently. I ran it different the first year, then the second year different last year, and I'm going to operate structurally different in it this year. It's just part of growth. One of the things you probably ran into on a micro level, it even happened at Select, but I really felt it on a macro level last year. People that were my frontliners or second liners, I had good relationships with. I had to work with them to build this out. Now we have 2,200 agents, and I used to try to, where I even had some constraints with growth because I plateaued and had to solve problems around 700 agents, around 1,000. Like, these are real problems I've had to solve to get to this point. And I tried to work the hierarchy model because that was what I was used to, top down ran, working through people. Now I just cut everyone out on the partnership tiers and work directly with whoever needs a problem resolved, or they need help, or they want to collaborate on a consistent level. And I'd have people reach out to me and be like, hey, you haven't called me, you haven't checked in, or hey, I'm struggling, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. And I learned this from Brian Carruthers because I watch him run a huge organization, and I asked him, how do you do it? He said, I only lean into the people that lean into me. And I was like, you don't focus on your front people or your second tier partnership. He's like, I don't care where you're at in my organization. If we're like-minded and you're willing and able and you're committed and you're leaning into me, I'm going to lean back into you. Yep. So I don't have time to be chasing you and checking on you and making sure you feel good. These are ownership positions, right? Yep. And so once I learned that, you know, it hurts some feelings. And then I tell people that you haven't asked me questions. This is about doing the right things in the right financial order. I've asked you to do this. I've asked you to do that. Have you done that yet? No. Well, that's the next piece to your business that you need to lay before we can lay another brick, right? And you ask better questions, you'll get better answers, right? And that's just, and so lean into the people that's leaning into you and be committed to those people and watch your business explode.
Yeah, 100%. It's if you spend your time focused on the wrong people that just have they have a problem for every solution, right? Those type of people, you're not going to get anywhere in business. You need to focus on the people that are actually in the right alignment with you and have the right mindset that execute. And then if I ask you to do something, Adam, and you get it done, I'm willing to help you more, right? But if we have a call every month for the last 3 months, we've talked about the same shit over and over, and you've not done anything, I'm going to lose momentum, and so are you. It's not helpful, right?
Right.
And so I'm going to break down a couple other things you said. You said one of the things you need to do is duplicate yourself when you're in business. So breaking this down, whether you're a brand new agent, whether you're starting a team, or whether you have a business like mine, duplicating yourself is something I say to my team all the time. I used to have I give this speech to my receptionist, right? It is your responsibility every day to come in and replace yourself. And they have the mindset, right, of, well, that makes me less valuable. And it's 100% the opposite. If you're able to duplicate and replace yourself, you are more valuable to the company. You are now 10 times more valuable to the company than you were before that.
Right. So I make about right around $500 an hour. Okay. So I always have to ask myself when I'm putting my hands on stuff, is this worth $500 an hour? As leaders, if it's not, but we have the intellect to be able to build it, we have to have enough focus and enough C personality to put the systems together, be patient enough to develop someone to turn that over to. What I see is the leaders end up just managing it themselves. No one could do it as good as me, or I don't want to teach them because they'll learn it and become my competition. That's all a limiting belief in your head and the way that you're looking at it. And what I was referencing earlier with duplication and being able to turn stuff over, and I told you this a handful of times on the listing side of your business, when I was telling you to turn your listing appointments over, if they can do it 80 to 85% as well as you can, and you can go focus on something else that pays a higher return and builds a new system or a new pillar or a new income into your stream, then live with it and go do that. Right.
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to find someone that has enough care. They're passionate. They're not going to be as passionate as you. They're not going to care as much as you. They're not going to execute as well as you. They're not going to have the skill set as you, or they would be you, or you would work for them. And find that 80%, 85% person, turn it over to them, develop them, give them some freedom to also have a vision with it and guidance and some type of creative control, and listen to their feedback and thoughts as they're running it. Because what also could happen is a year or two could go by and things change. And you're like, no, this is it. Or I know, but you're not in those trenches. You're not on those calls. You're not in those emails. You're not on the phone maybe with those people. And so taking the feedback and letting them make adjustments and letting them contribute more value is also critical to them continuously growing, and then also them feeling like you really believe in them and have their back is very important to the personal development side of that.
100%. You have to empower that person. So I believe that 80% of whatever that position is better than 100%, because now they have that 20% of freedom and empowerment to make it their own. Right. And now they can grow and develop as the position needs to, like you just said. And so a lot of people think that, like you said, and I was one of them, right, is that, well, nobody can do it. They're not doing it exactly like me. But that's a good thing, right? They need to do it their own way as long as they follow the core principles that help us get there, right? And now they empower that. I just heard my listing team today saying, hey, can we update the listing presentation here, here, and here? 3 years ago, I was the only one that knew what the listing presentation was and what needed updated. Now they tell me when it needs updated, right? Because it's their baby.
Yep.
So you can do that through any point of your business. Something else I want to break down. You talked about most agents struggle with time management. What you've helped me do and what I've been able to do is create a predictable business in real estate. I say that, and half the people listening right now are like, yeah, bullshit. That doesn't exist, but it does. And I'm able to do that for my entire team. I'm able to do that for each agent. It's predictable and it's scalable because I'm able to help them focus on, I don't call it time management, it's choice management. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. What do you choose to do with that time? Right?
Dude, I love that choice management, because I always say you have a choice. We have a choice every second, every minute. Right. And so I love choice management, man. I love it.
When somebody comes and says, well, I just don't have enough time. Well, wait a minute. We have the same 24 hours in a day. It's just you chose to do something else.
It's just not a priority. It's just not a priority. It's just not a priority to you.
Yep. 100%. All right, Adam, let's give some more nuggets and then let's close here. So what's some advice that you would give to somebody that's maybe running into, I mean, as an example, myself. So at any point in the stage, whether I was a single agent, I was growing the team at different aspects, I always ran into, I felt like I hit my head on the ceiling, right? I was in the hamster wheel. If I didn't produce, I didn't make any money. How do we solve that problem?
You develop other people, you recruit your way out of it and develop other people. It's as simple as it is. When I ran the coaching company and I looked at a lot of P&Ls and people, they told me they had teams, they might have the unit and the volume, they just don't have good profit margins. And especially if you back out their production, it's nothing. Yep. And so, they're like, how do we fix this? I'm like, you got the wrong gang with you. And so what you're going to need to do, if you got, bad culture or, people aren't accountable and you have to look at yourself first. And then I look at it like an ecosystem and it's like a fish tank. You're going to have to change some of that fish water and add new water and new chemicals, to whether they're habits, whether they're new accountability stuff, whether it's different marketing, different agents or personnel, or creating different systems, and then take another shot at it, and so we all hit our head, right? And the quicker you can resolve that constraint, the faster you're going to grow. And so when I'm working with team leaders or whatever, like, what specific problem do you have? And for the most part, I've seen and been through everything, not just heard about it, I experienced it. And here's what I will tell you: I may learn the lesson, but I learn it the hard way because I'm hard-headed, I'm stubborn. And so with that experience, I can always suggest, here's what I've done. Granted, it might've been last year. Granted, this is what I faced in 2014 or whatever, or try to point them in the resources, because I've damn near coached with everyone in the industry and consumed a lot of content. And I think everyone should, even if you're in a great network team, brokerage, modern team, whatever it may be, you need to stay a student of the game with everyone in the business. And so being able to point people in the right direction, like, for example, I'll give an example with you. You were running one piece of tech and you came to me and I told you the solution. You thought I was trying to sell you. You came back to me with the same problem about 6 months later. I gave you the same solution. Then you said, screw it, I'm going to try it. A year later, you're like, damn, I should have listened to you. That fixed the problem exactly what I needed. And now you have even grown past that and making changes. So that's just one example, really understanding the problem, how the problem is reoccurring, and then, coming up with a game plan to be able to help them work on it or put them in the right direction with the resources. Because everything in real estate with growth is situational.
Yeah, 100%. And so I'm fortunate now to be a coach with Cheplack Select Coaching. And what I'm running into with a lot of team leaders that I'm coaching is they're still the number one producer on their team. Yeah. And they're like, I can't get out of the hamster wheel. And so I turn it back on them. And my question to them is, well, what are you willing to sacrifice to get out of that hamster wheel? Because it doesn't come cheap. You have to sacrifice something for the long game for that to work.
Let me tell you what I went through. When I talk about leadership, Mike was the first one to step out of the field, and it was hard for him to give up his sales. And I can't speak about his income at that time. I don't know. I know when he took me out of the field, I was humming. A lot of repeat business. The call center was humming. Deals were coming frequently and easy. It's like crack, right? So the first decision I had to make was, okay, I'm going to stop selling, right? I know how to go out there and sell, close. Selling homes is easy. And I don't mean to be flippant, but it really is. We're just paid to keep deals together and get them through escrow. All right. So what I had to learn when I quit selling to work on the business, not in it, I had to give all of my business out. And as much as it sucked because I was counting the money as it was coming in, damn, that's a $3,000 commission. That's a $2,000 commission. And I'm just handing it out because what I had to learn was how to get results through other people and develop them at scale and focus more on people, our product and customer service to the consumer on the back end, marketing, conversion, and expansion. That's what I had to shift to. And here's what I'll tell you. I put more hours in. I was more stressed out because I was outside of my comfort zone. I was having to study more. And oh, by the way, I made less income that year. But what happened going into that second year was everything compounded and the income 2x'd itself. And I bought back more time and was growing faster. And so that's what I was willing to give up and sacrifice and commit to obtain what I wanted down the road, because a year from now, it's still coming, right?
Yep.
And do you want to keep doing what you're doing, getting the same result, or would you really want to live and do things that other people are willing to do right now so you can live and have what other people don't have a year or two down the road? And
100%.
that's what they have to ask themselves.
Yep. Yeah. If you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting, right? Something has to change. And the good news, the bad news is you're the person that has to change if you're in that situation. The good news is you're the person that can fix it, right? You are the problem and the solution. And so, yeah, I think that's great advice there. Adam, is there anything else you want to cover in this?
No, I just want to say I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you gambling with me. I appreciate you seeing the vision with me when everybody was telling me I was crazy. You know, I more importantly, man, you like the execution part you do at a high level. And so I respect that, you know, because I don't see a lot of people do it the way that I think it should be done, or, you know, the way that I do it or have done it. Right. And so watching you grow from 200 units to around 1,000, developing into a, you know, a top coach for Cheplack, and doing what you've been able to do with your family and keeping, you know, it together when, you know, you and I had some other talks about, hey, balance is important and the lake house and certain things, man, like you actively listen and you execute. And I just want to say, I'm proud of you and Amanda and the team, and you're doing a phenomenal job, man. I just appreciate the partnership. So
thanks, man. The feeling's mutual. A lot of it's not possible without you. So, dude, love you like a brother, and can't wait to see you in Cabo. And thanks so much for joining us for this podcast. Appreciate it.
All right. Later, guys.
See ya.